Okay, I want to talk to you today about how you can get started with Aweber. And Aweber is a way of marketing your business. And you and I know, if you've been around being an entrepreneur or marketing online or marketing in general, you know that the money is in the list. And you and I really do need to become skilled at collecting contact information, names and email addresses. And we do have to use an autoresponder to do that. It's the best way. It's an automated way to do that. And we want to understand everything that our autoresponder does. Aweber is no different than that. Did you know, how many of you all knew, if I were to ask you, did you know that Aweber can keep your prospects and your buyers separate in how you communicate them, right? Maybe you knew that. Did you know that you could write messages weeks in advance when you knew there were going to be good circumstances? You can get in touch and stay with your customers with Aweber. We're going to talk about that a little bit here tonight. And one of the things that you probably realize is that marketing technology, whether you are an online marketer or whether or not you are a brick and mortar business owner, marketing technology is now getting smarter every single day. You can now do more with less because software is automating more of what we do, right? Even the most basic software designer is now able to create one application that takes the place of 2 or 3 that used to do the same job. How many of you all have found that? Now, many of these software designers, many of these applications, they're doing an excellent job of combining applications. You're probably seeing that. You probably purchased some of them. And you can now have software to build your business pages. You can now have software that helps you to manage your social media instead of having to go in every day. You can have software that actually automates and manages that process. You can have software these days now that helps you to create a logo all by itself. You can have software that helps you to create graphics and infographics. And you can have software that helps you now to create content from scratch. You can have software now that helps you to create sales videos. Pretty amazing, right? You used to have to do all of these things manually. You can have software that automates the payment process. And this is what really makes things exciting about where we're going in marketing technology, where we're going as online marketers, where we're going as entrepreneurs and business owners. Marketing technology, as you know, is now getting more connected. Now, if I lose anyone, it's going to be in the next few seconds. I'm going to tell you and mention a few things that you may or may not know about. There is an application called IFTTT, if this then that. Basically, all this is, that is something that connects 2 applications. So these really cool applications we've been talking about, there are now applications that connect those applications. So we have applications like IFT, Zapier, maybe you've heard of that, maybe you haven't, but Zapier is an application that takes those other things that I was telling you about and it connects them. There are web-based services like Wufoo that creates forms that connect these services, and JotForm. So all of these things that we are using now that used to take 3 or 4 different ways to do them, now we have them and we can connect them together. It's really fantastic and really exciting. And you probably realize, you probably purchased some of these things. Your social media now integrates with everything, right? So you can integrate social media, Facebook, Twitter, with just about everything. You can now integrate your storage with just about everything. How many of you all own Dropbox or Microsoft Cloud? And you can now connect that with everything. So marketing technology is now getting more and more connected every day. You can now use your WordPress website in particular. You can integrate with just about everything that we have talked about. So you can integrate everything. And now you can even integrate your payments. PayPal and Stripe and anything else you use. Some of you probably even use something called Bitcoin. You can do just about anything that you want and integrate and connect these things. But now what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that some of these connections, depending on how well you use them and how well you keep up with them, they can add to some confusion. The problem typically is not that the software applications don't work. They typically do. Right? The problem is not that the software applications don't integrate. They typically do. And so because they integrate and because they do work, we've got all kinds of choices we have to make, right? And so we tend to get distracted about which we want to do, what we want to do with some of these integrations. And the question is, always comes back down to this, right? Here's what the question is. Do these new applications generate more leads? Do these applications generate more sales? And that's ultimately what you and I have to be able to answer. We have to be able to justify whether or not these software applications actually do that. And if their integration must help me to generate more new leads and sales, if I were to tell you, do you know where most of these new applications start? When these applications, they look to figure out what they're going to integrate with. Have you ever looked in some of their credibility, some of their credibility logos? The number one logo that you'll see on all of the new applications is AWeber, right? Start looking at some of their marketing pages. Start looking at some of the common elements, and here's what you'll find. They establish their credibility by saying, hey, we integrate with AWeber, the autoresponder company that probably just about every new entrepreneur and marketer at least has to make a decision about, even if they don't use it right away. You might ask now, why AWeber, right? Why AWeber? It's probably because AWeber has an interface that's really intuitive to use. I mean, just about anybody can get started using AWeber and figure out how to write a message. AWeber, now for you technical people, it has software code, and AWeber's been around for a long time. So all that software code is being constantly worked on, constantly refined. That means then that it makes it easy for some of these companies we've been talking about to integrate with them. Their pricing model has been the same for probably over almost a decade. It always includes a free trial and makes it attractive to new entrepreneurs, many of whom get started with AWeber and they never cancel. And AWeber's platform is newbie friendly. Anybody can get in, and I said this before, can get in and send a message. So if AWeber's so cool, right, obviously there are no problems with it, right? It's really cool. Are there any problems with it? Well, if I were to mention a few cons, there might be a few cons. What are those cons? Well, AWeber's really super cool key benefits are still really technical, right? You still do have to really understand technical stuff to really get down and get some of the real benefits of it. AWeber has menus that you and I could miss if we weren't told about them ahead of time. So sometimes we can go months, years, lots of long periods of time missing some of the key benefits because we just didn't know they were in the menus. And AWeber does not really require its customers to go through any kind of onboarding before use, right? So they assume people already know how to use it, and that can be good and bad. Doesn't stop anybody from using it that wants to, but at the same time, though, that means then that you could get in, start using it, get used to it, and never really get to the really cool stuff. And AWeber doesn't automatically integrate with all web services. Many times it uses that third party I was telling you about, which is called Zapier. And the core feature of building opt-in pages can really leave the non-technical person behind, right? So AWeber is fantastic. But if there were any cons to it, it would be that. But you and I know that regardless of how we feel about those things not being there, we still have to do list building. We have to build our customer database. We have to build our list of names and email addresses. That part is vital. It is not an option. And because AWeber is right in the middle of all those integrations, then we want to know how we can use it. So we want to make sure that if all of these new applications are using AWeber as their source of credibility, if they're saying AWeber makes us credible, that means AWeber is right in the middle. So how are we going to overcome some of these technical barriers? Well, we can get a little bit of assurance, and we put it together in a little course for you that you can find out all about when you click the link that's on this page. All you've got to do is to go straight to that link. We'll tell you more about the course, how you can get it, and how then you can overcome some of these technical barriers that could help you to really build an email list and a contact list that will help you to build your business.